Part 32. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 311. Chapter 311, Hunglin Village, Second Update. Kuizu whispered, "This is the medicine prescribed by Dr. Fan in the village. It's very expensive to ask a doctor in town to see a doctor. Dr. Fan is kind, sometimes he writes a prescription, and sometimes it only costs a few pennies. We can come to the pharmacy to get the medicine with the prescription." Zhang Ziluo looked at the prescription and her eyes lit up. "This prescription is very good, this is a good doctor." Kuizu smiled slightly and said, "Well, the villagers say Mrs. Fan is very good." Zhang Ziluo nodded, "This prescription is indeed good, there is no problem, and he tried to prescribe some cheaper medicinal materials, so that you don't have to spend much money to get the medicine, but the efficacy of the medicine is no problem. He is a doctor with great medical skills. Without great medical skills, such a prescription would not be possible." Zhang Ziluo thinks this Dr. Fan is very good. Once he heard this, Kuizu felt even more relieved. Kuizu thinks that her young lady has been very good since she was a child, and she will become even more powerful when she grows up. What Miss said is absolutely correct. Zhang Ziluo accompanied Kuizu to grab the medicine, and then she bought a basket of eggs, 2 pig trotters, and an old hen to carry them to Kuizu's house. "Miss, you really don't need it?" Zhang Ziluo said, "Kuizu, you and your lady don't have to be so polite. The patient just needs to take more nutritious food to replenish his body. If he eats well, his body will get better easily." Zhang Ziluo knew that in the village, pig trotters were used to make bone soup and old hens were used to make soup to nourish the body. Everyone recognized these two things. There are also eggs that can supplement protein. There is no milk seller here. If there was a milk seller, Zhang Ziluo would buy milk. In this way, Zhang Ziluo took her things and rented a carriage to take Kuizu to Hunglin Village, a remote rural area in Zhangzhou. "Kuizu, your villages are quite far apart. Could it be that you walk there? If we walk, it will take an hour, that is, 2 hours. Kuizu nodded and said, "Even Li Zheng's family doesn't have an ox cart in the village. Occasionally, other villages drive ox carts. We take the ox cart to the city. The fare is only 2 cents per person. Anyway, it's nothing now, it's okay to walk without getting tired." Zhang Ziluo understood that she had stayed in Donghe village before, and understood that everyone was actually doing it to save some copper coins. The round trip costs 4 cents, which is a lot of money for ordinary people. Everyone wishes they could break a penny in half and spend it. And after understanding it, Kuizu and Sister Song's family usually rely on farming to make a living. Sometimes Songbin would go to the dock to carry goods and do some physical work. But the physical work is too hard, and Kuizu is reluctant to let Songbin do that work. Originally, Brother Song didn't even go to the dock to move goods. Moving goods is too hard, and the day's wages are small. It also depends on the steward whether he can use it. Originally, my great-grandson came here and issued some decrees, and everyone was happy. We thought that there was a lot of wasteland in the village. If the family worked harder, we would cultivate more acres of land, and the taxes would be less. If we worked harder, we could plant a lot of crops a year. Food. Unexpectedly, my mother-in-law contracted a cold and fell ill. Dr. Fan said it was caused by overwork and not eating much. During this period, my mother-in-law ate all the eggs and duck eggs I had saved at home. I originally planned to save them for takeout." Zhang Ziluo said, "Didn't you think about pickling the eggs and duck eggs?" Kuizu shook his head and said, "We can't." "They certainly don't." Zhang Ziluo's expression changed. The water system in Zhangzhou is actually very developed. Normally, crayfish, river shrimps and crabs are very abundant. But the main food here is fish. "Then what is your brother doing now?" Kuizu said, "My brothers and sisters bought a boat and caught some fish on the boat to sell abroad or supply to restaurants." The main reason is that my sister-in-law's family has been running boats since she was a child. She is good at water and is good at fishing. She doesn't know how to farm, so she started running boats. Zhang Ziluo asked, "Is your brother adapting to it?" Qiuzu's eyes turned red. "I didn't adapt to it at first, but later I got used to it. He and my sister-in-law are very good. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law are cheerful and outgoing. They make my brother laugh when we are together. Moreover, after we have a son, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are also motivated to do things. If they were on the water, the humidity would be heavy." Qiuzu nodded and said, "Yeah, so my siblings' parents are helping to watch over them at home. This family is very nice." Zhang Ziluo nodded, "That's good." Arrived in the village, Qiuzu took Zhang Ziluo to a small mud yard with 4 rooms. Although it is small, it looks clean and has all the internal organs even though it is a small sparrow. There was a coughing sound in the house. "Ahem, is Qiuzu back?" "Mom, it's me, I'm back." Qiuzu said, "Miss, my mother-in-law is infected with wind and cold. She is afraid of getting sick. Please go sit in the next room for a while." Zhang Ziluo shook her head and said, "No, I know a little bit about medical skills. I'll go over and help." Qiuzu's eyes lit up. The young lady said that she knew a little bit about medical skills, which meant she knew a lot about it. When she was a child, she said she knew a little bit about everything, but in fact she was very powerful. For them, the lady is like a god. Wait for Qiuzu to bring Zhang Ziluo into the house. Mother Song was lying on the bed coughing. Hearing the sound, he looked up and saw not only Qiuzu but also another woman. Just when she met this woman's eyes, Grandma Song's whole body was shaken. Her eyes suddenly widened, and her hands trembled as she said, "Qiuzu, am I dazzled?" "Mom, it's Miss is still alive." "Little, Miss." Mother Song's voice trembled and she looked at Zhang Ziluo in disbelief. Looking at her trembling appearance, Zhang Ziluo was a little worried and stepped forward 2 steps. "Mother Song, it's me, Wei King Gluo. It's Miss, it's really Miss. The way she talks and the way she looks is like a lady." Aunt Song was so excited that she burst into tears. "Miss, you're still alive, that's great." Mother Song was so excited that she was out of breath after speaking a few words and kept coughing. Zhang Ziluo asked Grandma Song to lie down, and she took out a silver needle to give Grandma Song acupuncture, injecting wood-type supernatural power into her body. Her current wood ability is very powerful, and it is not a problem to treat a small cold. Coupled with the medicine boiled with spiritual spring water, it will take 2 or 3 days for Grandma to be fine. She took her pulse during the acupuncture and found out that Grandma Song was Xiao Feng Han, but she looked so weak because of malnutrition. This time, Grandma stopped coughing and felt energetic. She hurriedly struggled to get to the ground and knelt down to Zhang Ziluo. Zhang Ziluo hurriedly supported Aunt Song. "Mother Song, get up quickly." "No, our family's lives were saved thanks to the lady. The lady is our benefactor, and this bow is deserved." Aunt Song bowed to Zhang Ziluo respectfully. "The young lady deliberately found out about our mistakes and kicked us out in front of everyone. The third lady also secretly gave us money and told us to go out and live a good life. It turns out that everything was arranged by the young lady." End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 312. Chapter 312 Black Blood Pavilion, First Update. Only Aunt Song herself knows how happy and excited she is to see such a good lady alive. Her tears fell uncontrollably. She felt happy to see the young lady, but she couldn't help crying. She quickly wiped away her tears. Zhang Ziluo said, "I'm also very happy to see you." Seeing Aunt Song and the others was like seeing relatives of the Wei family, and she felt a sense of intimacy in her heart. At least she saved some people that year. They are all living well. Zhang Ziluo looked at Qiuzu and said, Go ahead and boil the medicine. Use this water to make medicine. Zhang Ziluo took out a water bag and handed it to Qiuzu. She put spiritual spring water in it. If she boils the medicine, it will be more effective. It can help Grandma Song get better soon. Qiuzu nodded. Zhang Ziluo said a few words to Grandma Song and then went to help herself make bone soup. Mammy Song will refuse. How could she let her master prepare food for her? Zhang Ziluo didn't pay attention to these things, and Song, now it's time for your body to get better quickly. After you get better, you can do more things. Mother Song nodded quickly and said, yes, yes, get well. Miss, can we work with you in the future? They still want to do things with the young lady. For them, the lady is their master and even their benefactor. Zhang Ziluo smiled and said, of course, I just need manpower to do things now. If you can come to my place to do things, I will naturally welcome you, and you can rest assured. And Song was excited and happy. Miss trusts them as always. Mammy Song felt grateful in her heart, and her whole body seemed to be refreshed all of a sudden. Even when Qiuzu boiled the medicine and gave it to Grandma Song, she could feel that her mother-in-law's mental state was much better. Of course she also understood, because when she saw the young lady, she felt that her whole body suddenly became energetic and powerful. Qiuzu's father-in-law and her husband went to work in geography, taking Qiuzu and Songbin's daughter with them. Because Qiuzu had to go get medicine and Grandma Song was sick again, they were worried about leaving the child at home without anyone to look after her. So when you go up the mountain, take it with you, put it on your back and wear it tightly, and it won't have much impact. So Guanqi Song and Songbin are not here at this time. After Zhang Ziluo arrived, she also understood the basic situation and asked Qiuzu to cook eggs and chickens for the family to replenish their health. After explaining some things, Zhang Ziluo went back. As soon as Zhang Ziluo returned, she saw Yun Loxiao standing in the yard. Zhang Ziluo was stunned for a moment, then walked over and said, "You're back. How are you busy over there?" Yun Loxiao didn't answer Zhang Ziluo's question, but just looked at her up and down. After making sure that she was fine, he breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Have you gone to the battlefield?" Zhang Ziluo nodded and said, "Well, what a shame, I just didn't kill Gongsun Wu. But I will definitely kill him." Yun Loxiao said, "I will have Gongsun Wu killed, but you can no longer take risks on the battlefield. If something happens to you, if your eldest brother is still alive, how can I explain to your eldest brother? Meng Meng will also be sad." Yun Loxiao frowned tightly, looking very worried. Zhang Ziluo didn't pay much attention to Yun Loxiao's emotions. In her eyes, either revenge, career, or Kui Hejin. "Don't worry, I know what's going on and I won't let myself get hurt. And this time Gongsun Wu is injured and won't attack the city for a while, so you will feel more relaxed." Yun Loxiao looked at Zhang Ziluo's expression, feeling a little helpless. He also knew that she might not be able to hear what he was saying. She has been a very thoughtful person since she was a child. What she decides cannot be changed by others. This temperament has been like this since childhood. He also knew it from the several times he had contact with her when she was a child and the description given by Saburo Wei. You just have to pay attention to your own safety. Your safety is more important than anything else. Do you understand? Even if we lose this war, we can't let you get hurt. Hearing these words, Zhang Ziluo said firmly, "That won't work. That southern emperor is not worthy of being the emperor. The country you have conquered must not be handed over to others. Don't worry, I will deal with this Gongsun Wu." Zhang Ziluo was very determined to kill Gongsun Wu. This cannot be changed. As soon as he heard these words, Yun Loxiao realized something. "What are you going to do? Do you want to carry out an assassination? Just like going to CAI's house in the middle of the night?" Zhang Ziluo nodded and said, "Yes. No, it's too dangerous. You cannot risk your own safety. Yun Loxiao simply had a headache. He can handle other things stably, but when it comes to Zhang Ziluo, he doesn't know how to persuade her. Wei Qingluo is the treasure in the hearts of all the Wei family. She is the favorite of the Wei family. If anyone in the Wei family was alive and knew that she was still alive and well, they would be so happy. She can be the spiritual support of the Wei family. Zhang Ziluo said, I know it myself. She can use the wood power. She would feel uneasy if she did not kill Gong Sun Wu. When she thought of Gong Sun Wu betraying the Wei family and falsely accusing the Wei family of collaborating with the enemy and treason, Zhang Ziluo would not allow him to live. It was just that she had no memory before, but now that she has thought of something and knows her life experience and the Wei family's hatred, how can she not avenge it? Moreover, Gong Sun Wu came to the door himself. Yun Loxiao said seriously, did you know that Gong Sun Wu invited masters from the world of martial arts? According to the news I just learned, there are people from the Black Blood Pavilion around Gong Sun Wu. The killers trained by the Black Blood Pavilion are extremely powerful. They use the masters trained by special methods, and the secret guards I sent were all killed by the people of Black Blood Pavilion. Black Blood Pavilion? Zhang Ziluo doesn't understand the power of Jianghu sect. But from this sect, I feel like he is not a decent person. Zhang Ziluo naturally knows how powerful Yun Loxiao's secret guards are. It can make Yun Loxiao's secret guards fall, which shows that the killers of Black Blood Pavilion are indeed extraordinary. Although Zhang Ziluo was a little wary, she was not afraid. The Black Blood Pavilion should be a force of the Jianghu demon cult, right? Yun Loxiao nodded and said, well, those who are familiar with this sect will also know that the Black Blood Pavilion does not follow the rules of the world at all. Normally speaking, the management of Jianghu and Xiaotang are different. Jianghu generally does not care about the affairs of the court. This is also the rule of the martial arts world, but now Black Blood Pavilion has broken this rule. Gong Sun Wu didn't know why he colluded with the Jianghu section. The reason why so many troops were sent to suppress the bandits this time is that the bandits were not ordinary bandits. They were mixed with martial arts masters, and they deliberately dispersed their forces to facilitate Gong Sun Wu's capture of Zhangzhou. But thanks to you this time, maybe even Gong Sun Wu would not have thought that you would show up. And Gong Sun Wu was born with great strength. Zhang Ziluo listened thoughtfully to these words. I know, I will be more careful. Even though she said this, Zhang Ziluo knew that she had to go and explore. She even wondered if Gong Sun Wu had colluded with Jianghu, then whether the forces in Jianghu had a hand in framed Wei family. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 313. Chapter 313 Winning Respect, Second Update. Yun Loxiao breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Zhang Ziluo had listened. He was really worried that Zhang Ziluo would go directly to the enemy camp to kill Gong Sun Wu without saying anything. According to the news he learned, Gong Sun Wu arranged for the killers from the Black Blood Pavilion to protect him overnight. Gong Sun Wu was very afraid of death. Some preparations must be made. In order to ensure a smooth siege and meritorious service, he made bandits rampant and even let these bandits kill a village in order to induce him to send troops to suppress the bandits. He also encouraged the people in the city to cause trouble. Some people who are ignorant or have taken money will naturally cause trouble regardless. Tune the tiger away from the mountain and then attack the city. Gong Sun Wu is also a good strategist. However, when he counted the troops in the city, he probably did not include Zhang Ziluo. Yun Loxiao looked at Zhang Ziluo's figure, thinking of her subordinates' reports and her strength. As expected of the Wei family, he inherited the Wei family's overbearing marksmanship. Even his subordinates are excited to mention it. They were even cautious about asking her identity. He didn't say anything, but everyone already had speculations in their minds. Even though she didn't show up again, everyone mentioned her with respect. Not because of him. It was she who won everyone's respect, and also because of the Wei family behind her. Yun Loxiao thought to herself that she must not be hurt. Things become complicated when the forces of the Jianghu are mixed into the forces of the court. Song family. When Song Zhend and Song Bin came back with Zizou, Grandma Song had already drank medicine and eaten the bones, and her complexion was better. Grandma Song felt it was amazing, her body felt stronger and her throat was no longer so uncomfortable. Her throat had always been dry before, and her throat hurt when she swallowed. Is it the effect of drinking medicine? But I had taken medicine for a few days before, but it had no effect. Is it because of eating pork leg bone? Mother Song finally felt that she was happy to see the young lady alive, so she recovered quickly. In fact, Zhang Ziluo boiled the medicine with Kuazu's water and used spiritual spring water, so the effect is naturally different. Furthermore, she used the healing power of the wood element when giving Ant Song acupuncture. The water used to make bone soup is also spiritual spring water. With a multi-pronged approach, Grandma Song was able to get things done faster. So when Song Zhend and others returned home and saw that Ant Song had improved a lot and could still sit on the bed, they were stunned. Is this much better? Song Zhend is usually taciturn and doesn't talk much. He only knows how to work. Songbin is also a person with a calm temperament. He looked at his mother and said, "Mom, did the medicine I bought work? Then I'll go out to find some more work and earn some money to get you some more medicine." Songbin is very filial at heart. Looking at his mother getting better, he was also happy to see her. And the most important thing is that he saw the light in his mother's eyes and the smile on her face. The frown between his eyebrows seemed to relax, which made Songbin extremely happy. He has always known that his parents had a grudge in their hearts, and it was related to the Wei family. They didn't dare to mention the Wei family, because they felt heavy when they mentioned it. The reason why the master found a reason to drive them out in the first place was to save their lives. So they should live well. But Songbin would secretly inquire about the news outside every time he went out, and he also looked forward to hearing news about the Wei family. Mother Song smiled and said, "Of course it's much better." "You can't imagine who I saw today," Songbin asked curiously. "Who did I see?" Although Song Zuzu is only 4 years old, she helps her mother wash vegetables when she returns home. She is very sensible and obedient. So Kuazu is accompanying her daughter in the yard, choosing and washing vegetables, and will make dinner later. The lady brought some good rice and noodles and asked her to cook them for the whole family to take good care of themselves, saying that there should be no malnutrition. Kuazu listened to Zhang Ziluo's words and planned to make cakes and vegetables for dinner at night. Their family hasn't eaten white rice for a long time. They always eat steamed buns or batter and wild vegetable porridge. You can also steam an egg custard for Zuzu to eat tonight. We also need to boil some eggs, and each person will eat an egg. The lady said that eggs are nutritious and you should eat at least 1 egg every day. She carefully remembered everything the lady said. At this time, Song Zhend and Song Bin looked at Grandma Song's happy look in the room and couldn't help asking, who did they meet? They can't figure it out. The family doesn't have much contact with other people on weekdays. It's Miss Wei, she's still alive, she's still alive. Speaking these words, Granny Song's eyes turned red again. Song Zhend and Song Bin looked at each other for a moment, with sad looks in their eyes. Mother may be more seriously ill. I'll ask Dr. Fan to come over tomorrow to help. Matsu Ma said whispered, this is the only way. They thought that Ant Song was crazy about the young lady. Looking at their appearance, Ant Song spat at them and said, I'm much better, I know it myself. If you don't believe me, ask Kuazu. The rice noodles in the house, the big bone soup in the pot, and the old hen were all brought back by the young lady. Can I deceive you? Hearing these words, the two people looked surprised for a moment. Songbin hurriedly went to the yard and said, "Daughter-in-law, miss, is she really alive?" Kuizu smiled, nodded, and said, "Yes, alive. I saw the young lady today. She is a young lady from the Wei family." Many people on the street were discussing that when the enemy troops attacked the city this morning, it was the young lady who repelled them with the Overlord gun. The Overlord spear is the weapon used by General Wei. The Overlord's marksmanship is still the Wei family's marksmanship. There is no mistake. She is the real lady. You will know when you see her. Songbin's eyes suddenly widened and his eyelids turned red. Why don't you ask us to come back so that I can kowtow to the lady? Songbin is also grateful to Miss Wei. Without this, Kuizu would not have survived. We'll see you again. First, get your body in good shape and eat more to become stronger, so that you can go do things around the lady in the future. Can we still go to the lady's side to do things? Kuizu said seriously, "Of course, I asked the lady, and the lady said they should use us." Well. Songbin was very excited. Kuizu said, "The young lady is in Taijun's mansion now. His Highness Taijun should know the young lady's identity. His Royal Highness Taijun is a good person, so naturally he does not believe the Wei family's accusation of collaborating with the enemy and treason. Even the witchcraft case of His Highness the Crown Prince must have been framed. They naturally did not dare to say such things before. But now Taijun is in charge of Zhangzhou, and they are not afraid to speak out." Songbin had stayed in the Wei family mansion before and was trained as a steward. He had also studied in the Wei family school, so he naturally understood some truths. In the future, when grandson occupies the south, he will definitely vindicate the Wei family. Kuizu said, "I heard that the one who attacked the city this time was Gongsun Wu." Songbin snorted coldly and said, "I heard my father say that if it hadn't been for General Wei, Gongsun Wu would have been killed long ago. He was an ungrateful man." Songbin clenched his hands tightly, wishing he could just punch Gongsun Wu to death. Kuizu said with a confident look, "Don't worry, Miss is so powerful and knows so many things. Since Miss is alive, she will definitely avenge the Wei family." End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 314. Chapter 314 Mystery, 3 Updates. Kuizu is full of trust in her young lady. When I was a child, if someone wanted to take action against the Wei family, or someone wanted to assassinate the young lady's brothers, the young lady would always have a way to deal with those people. Moreover, the lady's method is fast and miraculous. Kuizu feels that as long as the lady is here, everything can be solved. Actually, back then, I always felt that Miss actually had a way to save the Wei family, but then I didn't know why, so it was like that. Kuizu is 5 years older than the lady, so she naturally remembers many things from that time. The young lady seemed to have said something once. The young lady said that she would arrange everything for the Wei family within half a year. I never expected that something would happen to the Wei family within a month. Songbin was silent for a while after hearing this. The Song family is a son of the Wei family, and his parents have been in charge of the Wei family since he was a child. He will also be in charge of the Wei government in the future, so he will have to learn a lot from an early age. He also wants to know many things about the Wei family. He has known since he was a child that the 6th girl of the Wei family is the only girl in the Wei family and the favorite of everyone in the Wei family. Everyone dotes on this 6th girl of the Wei family. Normally speaking, those who are pampered by their family members will become lawless and arrogant. But not the 6th girl of the Wei family. She is smart but sensible, and she does things very appropriately. Yes, many times he thought it was just a coincidence, but in fact, the 6th girl of the Wei family was very measured in what she did. He will make up for anything that is not thoughtful when the Wei family is traveling or having a banquet. Twice, someone secretly bribed the maids and servants in the mansion to assassinate the Wei family, trying to cause problems at the banquet hosted by the Wei family. But every time, danger was saved. His father was in charge of the banquet at that time. When his father came back and talked about it, he was so frightened that he broke into a sweat. The pavilion used for viewing the stage, the pillars below have been tampered with. The pillar collapsed that day, and the distinguished guests watching the banquet were likely to be injured if they fell from it. The details of the banquet were originally arranged like this, and we watched it from the pavilion. But it was the young lady who made a fuss about changing the place that day, and the whole house loved her, so naturally she had to do what the young lady said. So turn danger into safety. Not only that time, but also another time, holes were drilled under the boats in the lake. It turns out that this was the time when the sons of the Wei family invited their classmates to go out to the lake to enjoy the flowers and write poems. But it was temporarily changed by the lady, avoiding danger time and time again. It's amazing. But if the young lady really has magical powers, why didn't she save the entire Wei family? Realizing this idea, Songbin felt a little ashamed. Miss was still a child back then. How could they subconsciously treat her like a god? Many things at that time were a mystery. Songbin nodded and said, maybe. Zhang Ziluo originally planned to kill Gong Sun-woo that night. However, she was not that conceited. She still listened to what Yun Loxiao said. So to be cautious, Zhang Ziluo wanted to design a concealed weapon crossbow for herself. She designed it all night long. In order to prevent people from knowing how to build the concealed crossbow, Zhang Ziluo designed many parts. Some parts are useful, and some parts are not. Only she knows which parts to assemble. 2 days later, Zhang Ziluo took the hidden weapon drawings and went to one of the most famous ironworks workshops in Zhangzhou City. The shop owner was shocked when he saw the hidden weapon drawings. Miss, it may take a month to make such a sophisticated thing. Zhang Ziluo said directly, there are many blacksmiths in your iron shop. Find more people to make these parts. The money will be doubled. I will get it in 5 days. Here's the deposit. She had to get rid of Gong Sun-woo quickly. The shop owner looked at Zhang Ziluo's neat appearance and nodded. It would be faster if everyone makes it together. And he recognized this woman. Isn't this the woman that everyone has been talking about the most recently? Girl, are you the descendant of the Overlord Spear? He didn't dare to ask directly if it was the girl from the Wei family. He directly asked if she was the descendant of the Overlord Spear. When he thought that this was the Wei family, he felt extremely excited. His grandfather was from the border. When the border was almost captured, it was General Wei who guarded the border and protected them all. At that time General Wei was still a young man. It was his arrival that maintained order in the city. Every time his grandfather mentioned it, tears would fill his eyes. But later on, my grandfather followed my grandmother to live in Zhangzhou. It's just that my grandfather often mentioned what happened back then, so the whole family had a natural affinity for the Wei family. Not only them, General Wei also saved and protected the people, and he actually believed in them. Those who were born in the brocade have never seen the cruelty of border wars, and have no idea what the generals have done to defend their homeland. How many times has the Wei family fought regardless of life and death to save the people? If you can collaborate with the enemy and treason, you won't be so desperate to protect the people and the border from the beginning. The imperial court said that the Wei family had collaborated with the enemy and treason, but they did not believe it. But there's nothing they can do if they don't believe it, they can't do anything. Only during the Qingming festival, secretly burn paper to worship the generals of the Wei family. Zhang Ziluo was silent for a while and nodded. The shop owner hurriedly pushed the money to Zhang Ziluo. Girl, we don't accept money. We will build it in 5 days. Zhang Ziluo was stunned. The shop owner's eyes turned red, and he smiled sheepishly and said, "We believe in the Overlord Spear, and the Overlord Spear also saved us." Zhang Ziluo understood this sentence. They believe in the Wei family. Such words deeply touched Zhang Ziluo's heart. It turns out that there are still many people who remember their grandfather, uncle, and uncle. Zhang Ziluo's heart felt hot and her eyes were sore. "Thank you. But you also know the family rules. If you don't give me money to make things, my grandfather will scold me if they find out." Zhang Ziluo said this as if her grandfather and the others were still there. At Zhang Ziluo's insistence, the shop owner still accepted the money, but just as normal and not double the money. Zhang Ziluo didn't refuse this time either. Her cold heart suddenly warmed up. She was very happy that some people thought well of the Wei family and some believed in the Wei family. Everything done by my grandfather, uncle, father, and brothers has not been erased. This world is not the same as that of the Southern Emperor and the late Emperor. The people will also judge for themselves. When Zhang Ziluo came out of the iron workshop, her heart was filled with excitement. She was so caught up in her emotions that she didn't notice the movement around her for a while. At this moment, a murderous aura filled the air. An arrow shot straight towards Zhang Ziluo. At the same time, a man in black jumped out with a sword and headed towards Zhang Ziluo. The opponent's moves are fast and fierce, and he looks like he won't give up until he kills Zhang Ziluo. At this moment, Zhang Ziluo also realized that someone was trying to kill her. Still in Zhangzhou City in broad daylight, he is quite courageous. But this place is really remote. The remote entrance of the alley is also suitable for assassination. Zhang Ziluo reacted quickly and bent and spun in the air at an extremely fast speed. Not only did she avoid the arrow, but she also avoided the killing move that could kill her in one move. Today I added one chapter and updated 3 chapters with 6,000 words. Please give me a monthly ticket. End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 315. Chapter 315 appears again, first update. After Zhang Ziluo avoided the killing move, her figure was as light as flying, and she quickly retreated, out of the range of the man in black's killing move. The man in black was like lightning, and he moved quickly. He landed on the ground with his toes, used the force to jump up again, and attacked Zhang Ziluo fiercely with the sword in his hand. There is even a bit of murderous aura on his body. The other person pulled the bow and arrow again, and the arrow shot towards Zhang Ziluo again. The sharp arrow was wrapped in an icy murderous aura, with a whooshing sound through the air, and a cold light flashing in the air, and it shot straight towards Zhang Ziluo. The two men, one high and one low, tried to block her retreat and wanted to kill her here. Zhang Ziluo seemed to be avoiding, but she was observing the two people. Her figure is as agile as a flying bird as she leaps and spins. When the second arrow was about to be shot, Zhang Ziluo jumped into the air, grabbed the arrow in her hand, turned around, and shot the arrow back. This arrow was imbued with supernatural power by her. The arrow went away with a sound of breaking through the air, and hit the person who shot the arrow. The man who shot the arrow shot another arrow, and the two arrows collided in the air. One arrow broke, and another arrow pierced directly through the middle of the arrow and shot at the man again. There was a chi sound, and the sound of the arrow entering the body was slightly heard. The man groaned. At the same time, Zhang Ziluo suddenly had a Overlord gun in her hand. She holds the Overlord spear, and each move is faster than the last. The moves are unpredictable and have no rules at all. Her speed was so fast that she even created an afterimage. The sword in the hand of the man in black was also faster. The two people faced each other silently. The man who shot the arrow seemed to be determined to shoot again regardless of his injury. No one saw Zhang Ziluo wielding the Overlord spear with one hand, and a dagger appeared in the other hand, which flew out from behind. The flying knife shot over with great ferocity. The man in black who was shooting the arrow was caught off guard. Before he could pull the bow and arrow, a flash of sword flashed before his eyes. Before he could recover, a sharp pain hit his throat, and blood spurted out instantly. His eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe it. But no matter how much he couldn't believe it, he fell to the ground like this. The man in black, who was still fighting with Zhang Ziluo, seemed to hear a voice and was distracted. The spear in Zhang Ziluo's hand quickly turned over and stabbed the man in black in the arm. The man in black had a cold and cruel look in his eyes. He smelled the smell of blood, and suddenly a bloodthirsty cold light appeared. In an instant, his strength seemed to surge. Zhang Ziluo was shocked. Obviously he was injured, but this person's aura became stronger. She frowned tightly, and the speed of her attacks became faster and faster. Seeing the injuries on the man in black getting more and more serious, he was bleeding profusely. But when Zhang Ziluo was caught off guard, the man suddenly exploded. Zhang Ziluo's expression changed. At the critical moment, a man in a black cloak appeared, took her in his arms and quickly left the place with Qinggong. Zhang Ziluo was so stunned that she didn't come back to her senses. After arriving at a safe place, the man in the black cloak let go of Zhang Ziluo. They are people from the Black Blood Pavilion. The people from the Black Blood Pavilion have practiced evil internal skills and hurt people by self-destructing their internal energy to commit suicide. Be careful in the future. After finishing speaking, the man in black cloak will leave. Zhang Ziluo came back to her senses but grabbed his sleeve tightly. You, who are you and why do you want to help me? The breath on your body seems familiar to me. Although this man deliberately spoke in a lowered voice, Zhang Ziluo always felt that he was very familiar. Kui Hejin looked at the sleeve that was being pulled, and couldn't bear to take it out. It took him a lot of self-control to control himself and turn around to hug her. She was almost injured just now, and only he knew how panicked he was at this time. If he doesn't leave at this time, he will be unable to control his coughing. Kui Hejin still pulled Zhang Ziluo's hand away, used Qinggong and left. Zhang Ziluo couldn't think right no matter where she stood. Cough, hibiscus. Is it Kui Hejin? When she thought that this person was Kui Hejin, Zhang Ziluo's heart was filled with turbulent waves. Zhang Ziluo's eyes turned red when she thought of Kui Hejin. Kui Hejin, is it you, is it you? Zhang Ziluo shouted into the air. At this moment, many suppressed emotions surged up in her heart, seeming to overwhelm her. It would be a lie to say that you don't miss Kui Hejin. Why don't you think about it? It's just because there are important things to do and responsibilities to bear, so I have to move forward. His health is already well, why is he coughing? No, he has no inner strength, and his inner strength has not been restored. How could it be him? It can't be. Zhang Ziluo was panicked for a moment. After a long time, she wiped a tear from the corner of her eye and went back. Just because I am thinking about something on my mind, my steps are heavy. Kui Hejin was hiding in the dark. Looking at the scene just now, his heart suddenly started to hurt. Ziluo, I'm sorry. He cannot show up and make her worry. If he wants to help her, he must have great power. And if she knew what his body was like now, she would definitely be worried. After Zhang Ziluo returned to the house, her whole mood was very low. She was thinking about who the man in the black cloak was. She thought it was Kui Hejin, but she couldn't believe it. In the evening, Qiao Mengmeng came back and came directly to see her. Aunt. Qiao Mengmeng's cheerful voice rang out, and Zhang Ziluo regained her consciousness. Zhang Ziluo cheered up, looked at Qiao Mengmeng and said, "How was your time at school today?" Qiao Mengmeng nodded fiercely, "I had a lot of fun. Today the master told us a story, and the story she told was not as good as the story my aunt told us. But the story she told was very novel." Yun Loxiao invited two famous female teachers to teach, and Wu Fuzi taught Qiao Mengmeng. The purpose is also to help Xiao Mengmeng learn Kung Fu and have the ability to protect herself. Zhang Ziluo has met both of these ladies before. They are both very nice people and have good knowledge. With them teaching Xiao Mengmeng, Zhang Ziluo felt relieved. During dinner in the evening, Yun Luxio took time to come over for dinner, and also to ask Zhang Ziluo some questions. Today someone found the body of a man in black at the entrance of the alley, and carved marks were found on that man's body. He is from the Black Blood Pavilion. Have you seen that man? Yun Luxio was not questioning Zhang Ziluo, but felt that if the people from the Black Blood Pavilion met Zhang Ziluo, they would probably come to assassinate Zhang Ziluo. Zhang Ziluo said, "They came to kill me, but they were killed by me. It's just that the people in the Black Blood Pavilion seem to explode internally." Yun Luxio handed a file in her hand to Zhang Ziluo and said, "This is the information from the Black Blood Pavilion. This is the information we currently have. It may be useful if you read it." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 316. Chapter 316, Sneaking into the Camp, Second Update. Zhang Ziluo held the file in her hand, and after a simple scan, she knew that this file was very important. She glanced at Yun Luxio gratefully and said, "Thank you." Even though he is now in great power and in a high position, he still seems to be the great-grandson brother she remembers. Still the gentle person he was when he was young. Even though he was burdened with hatred, he remained the same. Zhang Ziluo was grateful. He was very considerate but gave her a very comfortable feeling. He would bring her whatever she needed but would not interfere with her affairs. This information is like timely rain. Yun Luxio said softly, "Your safety is very important. Gong Sun-woo may have guessed your identity based on his behavior. He should also send assassins." Zhang Ziluo's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Knowing that I am from the Wei family, you can't wait to send a killer over to kill me. Is this Gong Sun-woo too impatient? And this is your territory. Is he so careless, or is he afraid of something?" Yun Luxio also gave her a copy of Gong Sun-woo's dossier information before. She always felt that Gong Sun-woo's previous files seemed to have no problems and were impeccable. But the more trouble-free the data seems to be, the more likely it is that there are some problems. No one's information is always without problems. Unless someone erases the real information about Gong Sun-woo. Zhang Ziluo felt that there must be a monster when something went wrong. Yun Luxio said, "If he is afraid that the Wei family will seek revenge on him, then he won't be so anxious to send a killer to kill you." However, according to the file information, the Black Blood Pavilion is an organization that emerged in the past 10 years. Gong Sun-woo only came to prominence after the Wei family incident, and was promoted and taken seriously in the court. And to accuse the Wei family of collaborating with the enemy and treason, Gong Sun-woo alone cannot do it. Hearing these words, Zhang Ziluo's expression also changed. "Do you suspect that the real problem is the Black Blood Pavilion?" Yun Luxio concentrated and said, "Not bad. The Jianghu generally does not participate in the influence of the court. This is a tacit rule that has been formed for hundreds of years, but the Black Blood Pavilion broke this rule. They don't care about the opinions of the Jianghu and the court. If so, it's not for the power and position. They must have other purposes for doing this." Zhang Ziluo nodded and said, "Yes, I think so too." Yes, Zhang Ziluo also suspected that the Black Blood Pavilion had other purposes. Perhaps Gong Sun-woo's goal is a powerful position, but Black Blood Pavilion should not be like this. After dinner, Zhang Ziluo went to the study to read the files of the Black Blood Pavilion. Black Blood Pavilion, a killer organization that suddenly appeared in the world 10 years ago, was not recognized by the martial arts because of its internal skills and evil methods, and was called a demon sect by the people in the world. No one knows the specific information about the Black Blood Pavilion and who its founder is. There is no record in the dossier. However, because the skills they practice are unique and their internal strength improves quickly, and this method of cultivation also causes great damage to the body, some Black Blood Pavilion killers would rather kill the opponent by self-exploding their internal strength when receiving a killing order. It is recorded here that it takes time for the opponent to self-destruct, so as long as they are prevented from self-destructing within this time, the danger can be blocked. After reading this, Zhang Ziluo found it very useful. Next time she faces the Black Blood Pavilion killer, at least she will be prepared. In the next few days, Zhang Ziluo went to the medical clinic to grab some medicinal materials. She was busy preparing medicine when she got back. That is to say, I will go out to eat when I am eating. Qiao Mengmeng was also very sensible and did not disturb her. Perhaps the little guy has playmates in the academy and is very happy every day. When he gets tired from the academy, he goes to rest by himself. Gang Ziluo can be used to prepare some medicine for later use. Zhang Ziluo thought about the man in the black cloak who coughed a few times that day, and wondered if it was because he was in poor health. She prepared another bottle of elixir, thinking that it might be good for his health if she gave it to him next time. I guess I don't cough as much anymore. Zhang Ziluo also felt very complicated when she thought about the man in black cloak. I hope he is Kui Hejin, but I don't want him to be Kui Hejin. Because the body of the man in black cloak didn't look very good, she didn't want Kui Hejin to feel uncomfortable. If she heard Kui Hejin's cough, her heart would twitch. After finishing her work, Zhang Ziluo went to the iron workshop to get the finished parts. The shop owner looked respectfully at Zhang Ziluo. Zhang Ziluo handed him a bottle of medicine and said, "This is the medicine to treat your headache and insomnia. Take one pill every day and you should be fine after finishing it." The shop owner was shocked when he saw the bottle of medicine handed over by the girl from the Wei family. "Girl, you know how to heal." No, how did this girl Wei know that he often had headaches and insomnia? He had seen doctors and tried a lot of traditional Chinese medicine, but it didn't work. Although it could relieve the pain, the headache was still there. Know a little bit about it? Thanks for the spare parts. After Zhang Ziluo handed over the tail gold, she took the box and left. The shop owner came back to his senses and showed a look of reverence. As expected of the Wei family, they are very capable. Since he is a member of the Wei family, the shop owner will naturally not doubt the efficacy of the medicine, nor will he suspect that the Wei family will harm him. So he took a pill directly. Anyway, Miss Wei said to take one pill a day. The shop owner continued to forge after eating. But after a while, he suddenly found that his head no longer hurt. His eyes widened. No, is it so easy to use? He thought it might be an illusion, so another half hour passed. But I never had a headache. This made him even more sure that the medicine had miraculous effects. The owner was so moved that he shed tears. The Wei family are all so kind, and so is Miss Wei. It's a pity that I don't need Miss Wei's money, but Miss Wei will give it to me too. After the shop owner got the medicine, he naturally didn't want to accept Zhang Ziluo's money. But Zhang Ziluo should still give what she deserves. Also normally you have to pay urgent money for expediting, but the shop owner doesn't ask for it. The bottle of medicine given to him to cure his headache should be considered as compensation for the expedited cost. The head of the shop respects the Wei family, so she can't damage the Wei family's reputation. After getting the parts, Zhang Ziluo assembled it after going back. Assemble the concealed weapon. After taking the prepared medicine and fully armed, Zhang Ziluo quietly sneaked into the enemy's camp that night. Although Gong Sun Wu's injured army temporarily retreated that day, it did not completely retreat. They set up camp not far away. Seems ready to attack again at any time. Zhang Ziluo used her supernatural power to hide her aura and sneak into the enemy camp silently. She can use her powers to detect that this place is heavily guarded, and soldiers are constantly patrolling back and forth. She quietly captured a soldier and asked, "Where is Gong Sun-woo's camp?" Zhang Ziluo's dagger was tightly wrapped around the soldier's neck. If he dared to open his mouth to shout, her knife would definitely be faster. In the middle tent, the flag is hung outside. To be on the safe side, Zhang Ziluo asked 3 soldiers to make sure it was that camp before sneaking in quietly. End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 317. Zhang Ziluo was very cautious this time, constantly consuming supernatural power to hide herself and conceal her aura. Because Zhang Ziluo did not dream about it in advance when she was assassinated by the Black Blood Pavilion killer. Then the time when I rescued Qiao Mengmeng was earlier than what I saw in my dream. So she cannot rely on such power now, she must explore and solve the problem by herself. There are soldier handles inside this camp. Zhang Ziluo sneaked inside quietly and saw a person lying on the bed. Gong Sun-woo. Just as Zhang Ziluo was about to take action, she realized something. Something is wrong. Gong Sun-woo was so afraid of death that he shouldn't have been lying here unsuspectingly if he was injured. Although he was bandaged, his breath was not right. Zhang Ziluo knows medical skills herself and can tell whether a person is injured by just breathing. That day, she used her supernatural power to stab Gong Sun-woo fiercely with the Overlord spear. Even if Gong Sun-woo's physique was strong and he used the best medicine, his injuries would not heal so quickly. Zhang Ziluo knew it all. There is no trace of the smell of blood in the air. So something is wrong. This person should not be Gong Sun-woo. What a good plan. Are you trying to catch a turtle in an urn? Zhang Ziluo's lips curled up in a cold arc, and she quietly left the tent. Suddenly, the lying man seemed to feel something. He quickly sat up and headed towards a certain place with the knife in his hand. Nobody. Yes, Protector, we have been staying here and haven't found anyone's breath. The Protector frowned tightly. He clearly felt something, but he was still too vigilant. Zhang Ziluo continued to search secretly. Sure enough, Gong Sun-woo was found in a small tent. In order not to arouse suspicion, no one was guarding the outside of this tent. Looks like an ordinary soldier's tent. But after entering, there is another world. It is well arranged and guarded by 2 people. At this time, Gong Sun-woo was changing his dressing. The doctor is reapplying medicine to his wound. Your injury is quite serious, you still need to take good care of yourself, and you can't move around during this period. Once it is not maintained well, this arm will easily become useless, and the general's kung fu will not be able to display its full strength. The military doctor seemed to have a good relationship with Gong Sun-woo and spoke truthfully. In fact, he could feel that the general still wanted to continue to attack the city. I didn't expect anyone from the Wei family to be alive. Maybe that person is just a person with good kung fu, and he is probably not from the Wei family. Gong Sun-woo's eyes were filled with hatred. No, she is from the Wei family, she can't be wrong. That kind of marksmanship, that kind of figure, that's the Wei family. She should be the 6th girl from the Wei family. The doctor whispered, "It's just a girl." Gong Sun-woo snorted coldly, "Girl, she is not an ordinary girl. She is the most precious person in the Wei family. How can the granddaughter Wei Hao often talks about be an ordinary person? Moreover, her marksmanship is Wei Hao's. Taught by Hao himself. It's her, there's nothing wrong with her, she's alive. I heard that she has been quite magical since she was a child, so it's not surprising that she is still alive. What a shame, there is still a fish that slipped through the net, she must be killed." The doctor said, "But the person you arranged went out to assassinate her, and no news came back. Could it be that the mission failed? I heard the news came that she is still alive." Gong Soon-woo slammed his fist on the table angrily. Can't even kill a single person. The doctor hurriedly said, be careful about the wound. Since there is no one who can kill even the Black Blood Pavilion killer, his strength is indeed extraordinary, so he must be cautious. Gong Soon-woo's face was livid. Damn it, we almost succeeded in attacking the city that day, but she showed up. Everyone was obviously dead back then, and the charred corpses had been inspected and found no problem, so why were they still alive? Gong Soon-woo couldn't think clearly. The doctor asked, could it be related to the rumors? Gong Soon-woo snorted coldly, it's rumored, huh, isn't her mother Mrs. Wei-san? You can believe this. It's not like you don't know how much Mrs. Wei-san treasures her. Just as Gong Soon-woo was speaking, Zhang Ziluo had already taken action. The doctor reacted, no, there's smoke. Gong Soon-woo also quickly took the weapon. At this moment, Zhang Ziluo had already fired the hidden weapon. Whoop, whoop. After adding smoke and concealed weapons, Zhang Ziluo did not wait for them to react. She used her supernatural power to quickly become invisible and came to Gong Soon-woo, and a knife fell on his neck. Don't move around. Be careful that my sword doesn't have an eye. It would be a pity if you accidentally die like this. Don't try to yell, you should understand that my knife is faster. Zhang Ziluo appeared, and the doctor saw clearly that she was a girl. The two killers guarding the tent fell to the ground and died on the spot. They were both deceived by smoke and concealed weapons. She put medicine on the concealed weapon to ensure that just a small scratch would kill someone. The doctor didn't know how to do martial arts and fell to the ground. You, Wei Qingluo. Gong Soon-woo almost gritted his teeth and called out the name. The moment Gong Soon-woo opened his mouth, Zhang Ziluo popped a pill into his mouth. The elixir melts in your mouth. You, what did you give me to eat? Zhang Ziluo snorted coldly, it's just a medicine to make you tell the truth. You. Gong Soon-woo didn't believe there was such a medicine, but his eyes were still wet and his face was extremely ferocious. He wanted to resist but soon became a little psychedelic. Seeing that the medicine was working, Zhang Ziluo asked, Gong Soon-woo, why did you betray and frame the Wei family? Haha, betrayal, I was originally going for the Wei family. We already have a grudge against the Wei family, so how can I talk about betrayal? Zhang Ziluo's eyes narrowed dangerously, what's the hatred? Who are you? The secret in Gong Soon-woo's heart seemed to be revealed, and he burst out laughing, my real name is Duan Mu, and I am from the Kang Kingdom. It was Wei Hao who killed my father back then. Because of that war, the Duan Mu family was accused, shouldn't I take revenge? So I was sent to the Yun Kingdom from the very beginning, and lurked in the Yun Kingdom, waiting for revenge. The group of people who were sent to Yun Kingdom studied Wei Hao's habits and character every day. Our people studied how to send me to him to become someone he trusts. Only those he trusts have the chance to overthrow him. Isn't he fighting for the King of Yun? Then let the King of Yun personally convict him of collaborating with the enemy and treason. This is the most painful and humiliating way for a general to die. The late emperor was afraid of the great achievements of the Wei family, so I handed him a knife naturally. The late emperor wanted to cut it off. Look, the Wei family is gone, haha. Hearing this, Zhang Ziluo felt extremely hateful. I wish I could kill Gong Soon-woo on the spot. No, it should be Duan Mu. It turned out to be the Duan Mu family of Kang Kingdom. During this period, Yun Loxiao read a lot of files to her, and she read and understood the news from various countries. Learn any news related to my grandfather and the Wei family. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 318. The Duan Mu family is a big family in the Kang Kingdom and a family of military generals. It was once known as the undefeated myth. Just because her grandfather killed members of the Duan Mu family on the battlefield, let them focus on revenge. You must know that Kang State took the initiative to attack back then, and his grandfather only killed General Duanmu, who led the army to attack the city when he was ordered to defend his country in danger. The Kang kingdom was very ambitious. At that time, it wanted to capture the border of the Yun kingdom and march straight into it. Her grandfather blocked the Kang kingdom's attack when he was still a young man. But the late emperor did not remember this at all, and was only worried about the reputation of the Wei family and the military power he held. Does the late emperor know that the Wei family is innocent? Gongsun Wu, Duanmu Wu to be exact, he laughed and said, "They don't care about the lack of evidence or what the truth is. They just want a result they want to see. What effect does your emperor of Yun want? They want the Wei family to die. You, the Wei family, are really stupid and unjust. You are dedicated to protecting your family and country and being loyal to the emperor. What will happen to you in the end? Is it useful to be loyal to the emperor and serve the country?" Zhang Zhiluo listened to Duanmu Wu's words and wished she could slap him in the face. She wished she could shut him up, but Zhang Zhiluo knew that she still had a lot of news she wanted to know at this moment. "So the evidence is insufficient, right?" "Yes, if Wei Hao's seal is carefully identified, it may be found to be fake." Zhang Zhiluo couldn't hold back and pushed the dagger forward, causing Duanmu Wu's neck to bleed instantly. Zhang Zhiluo tried hard to hold back her anger, thinking that she couldn't kill Duanmu Wu yet. The emperor knows it's a lie. The emperor arranged for the Jinyue to handle the case. If the Jinyue says it is true, then it is true. The Jinyue are the emperor's eyes and ears. They will do whatever effect the emperor wants. So when you correspond to an enemy country, any charges of collaborating with the enemy and treason are groundless, right? Yes. Wei Hao is a tough guy. Those in the Wei family are all about protecting the country and the people. Even if the knife is held on their necks, they will not collaborate with the enemy and treason. Not to mention that Wei Hao's seal is so hard to find. Even if it is now, it is estimated that no one has found where Wei Hao's real seal is. Grandfather's seal? Where is my grandfather's seal? Zhang Zhiluo seemed to have thought of something, and her expression changed. Perhaps she knows. Who else framed the Wei family? Who else is the Jinyue? Gongsun Wu shook his head and said, "I don't know about this. That's the person arranged by the emperor. I only need to forge military information, and the people from the Black Blood Pavilion will take care of other things." Who is the master behind the Black Blood Pavilion? I don't know. I accidentally saved a person on the road, and that person was from the Black Blood Pavilion. Since then, I have been cooperating with the Black Blood Pavilion. I don't know who their pavilion master is. Zhang Zhiluo frowned tightly. Collaborating with the enemy and treason, forging letters from your Kang kingdom, collaborating with someone from your Kang kingdom. I remember the war that year was with the Kang kingdom. Obviously, if the king wants his ministers to die, the ministers have to die. Back then, the late emperor insisted on punishing the Wei family, and it was the then prince who knelt down outside the palace to plead for mercy. It was also because of this incident that the late emperor disliked the prince even more. Because the prince's virtue further set off the former emperor's lack of virtue. The late emperor insisted on killing the Wei family, and many courtiers felt that they were being cooked by lackeys, and everyone moved closer to the prince. So after a few years, the late emperor at that time finally couldn't help but also take action against the prince. It's Mei Xiang. Mei Xiang? The Mei family is one of the four major families in the Kang kingdom. It was originally the last family of the four major families. But 10 years ago, he suddenly rose to prominence, and the head of the Mei family became Prime Minister Mei. So the forged letter was also cooperated by Mei Xiang to frame the Wei family. Destroying the Wei family can be regarded as helping Kang Guo solve a powerful enemy. Zhang Zhiluo asked some more questions, a cruel cold light flashed in her eyes. With no more questions to ask, Zhang Zhiluo killed Gongsun Wu with one blow. After dealing with Gongsun Wu, Zhang Zhiluo quickly left the camp. But after a while, Someone happened to go to the camp to deliver food, because Gong Sun Wu had the habit of eating supper in the middle of the night. Ah! Suddenly there was a scream over the entire military camp. The entire military camp was quickly put under martial law. Block all exits, find suspicious killers, and shoot them without mercy. The deputy general immediately issued the order. As soon as Zhang Ziluo walked out of the camp, she was chased and killed. They are 6 men in black. Kill without mercy, leave her alive. Since they knew that this woman might be a member of the Wei family, they had to kill her. Just by meeting each other, Zhang Ziluo understood that this was someone from the Black Blood Pavilion. Just used a lot of superpowers to hide and look for Gong Sun Wu. At this point she can no longer be invisible, and she has been found anyway, so it's time to fight back. Zhang Ziluo rose into the air, jumped onto the treetop, and fired out the hidden weapon in her hand. At the same time, the sound of brush, brush, brush sounded. Throwing knives were shot out quickly from behind the hidden weapon. The 2 men in black at the front suddenly had blood stains on their necks, and then at the end. This scene shocked the other 4 people. They have never seen such a powerful master in all their time in the world. Zhang Ziluo mobilized the supernatural power in her body and absorbed the aura power in the forest. Her breath carries the wind in the air, sweeping it. The wind was blowing, and the leaves were rustling. Zhang Ziluo took out the spear from her back again and used it. The girl's posture was nimble, her marksmanship was as fierce as a rainstorm, and her attacks were fast and fierce. The 4 men in black frowned and felt very troublesome. If you can die by my overlord's gun, you deserve to die. Since you are from the Black Blood Pavilion and participated in the frame-up of the Wei family back then, I will grant you death by the overlord's gun. Shooting the enemy with overlord, your grandfather will be very pleased to see it. Now that there are clues, Zhang Ziluo will definitely avenge and vindicate the Wei family. And she is now certain that the frame-up of the Wei family for collaborating with the enemy and treason was a conspiracy. Zhang Ziluo's spear skills are like a rainstorm, her moves are fast, ruthless and accurate, and she stabs very quickly. Even though the 4 men in black were good at using swords, they were almost beaten by Zhang Ziluo from behind. Tell me, who is the master behind you? The dead don't know. One of the men in black looked at Zhang Ziluo as if she were dead. Yes, he thought that the girl must die in the forest. They have laid a dragnet. Zhang Ziluo snorted coldly, and the spear in her hand turned sharply, swiping directly across the man's chest, but turned to the other side and grazed his neck. The man in black who had just finished speaking fell to the ground instantly. 1 more died, leaving 3 people. When the 3 men in black fought against Zhang Ziluo, they found that the girl became more and more courageous as she fought. They originally wanted to drag this girl to death, but they never expected that she would become stronger and stronger as she fought, as if she was tireless. After Zhang Ziluo tested their skills, she quickly found their flaws. Another man in black falls. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 319. Chapter 319 Recognized, First Update. Zhang Ziluo has indeed not used the gun in her hand for a long time. When I was a child, I learned marksmanship from my grandfather. It's just that her grandfather made her a relatively small and light gun at that time, suitable for her to practice at that age. Yun Loxio asked someone to help find this overlord spear and delivered it to her. I haven't used marksmanship for a long time, so I wasn't proficient at it at first. But with practice, Zhang Ziluo gradually became proficient. So the marksmanship is getting faster and faster. Zhang Ziluo is practicing with these people. After finally getting rid of the 2 men in black, Zhang Ziluo felt that her marksmanship practice had regained the same feeling as when she was a child. When I was a child, my grandfather taught me personally and I became very skilled in marksmanship. Just when Zhang Ziluo was holding a gun and preparing to leave, suddenly a master attacked Zhang Ziluo with a huge palm wind. With strong internal strength, Zhang Ziluo looked stern. This man's aura reminded her of the man disguised as Gong Sun Wu in the central tent. Are you a master of the Black Blood Pavilion? She knows that even in Jianghu organizations, killers are divided into different levels. Some killers are the top killers in the organization, and some are third-rate or fourth-rate killers. Even if Zhang Ziluo didn't look back, she turned the spear in her hand and stabbed the man's palm fiercely with strong force. Because this time, Zhang Ziluo poured supernatural power into the spear. She turned over violently and spun around, her body turned upside down, and the spear stabbed the man's hand accurately. He directly used ferocious force to remove the inner palm wind of the master in black. However, the wind brought by the palm wind still ruffled Zhang Ziluo's long hair. Zhang Ziluo looked at her with a messy yet sharp beauty. It is obviously beautiful and pure, but it also gives people a sharp and cold feeling. Like an unsheathed sword, extremely sharp. Just like that, the two people started fighting quickly. The moves of both people are also cruel and deadly. But Zhang Ziluo played very steadily. However, Zhang Ziluo was still injured during the fight. Mainly because she used a lot of supernatural powers to find Gong Sun Wu in the military camp and kill her. So the breath is still a little chaotic at this time. It's a pity that she doesn't have the internal strength of this era. It would be great if she knew the internal strength. But she didn't make it easy for the Master in Black either. Zhang Ziluo also caused the Master in Black to bleed a lot. Just when the black-clothed Master was angry and was about to stab Zhang Ziluo again with his long sword, it seemed that some hidden weapon hit the black-clothed Master directly. A strong wind swept through. The man in black cloak appeared. The sword in his hand drew its edge and directly killed the Master in Black. Zhang Ziluo was stunned for a moment when she saw this scene. Is it him? Kill the Master in Black, and the man in the black cloak will leave. Zhang Ziluo's face suddenly changed and she wailed. It hurt so much. As she spoke, she bent down weakly. The man in black cloak couldn't let her go after all, and came over to help her. Zhang Ziluo has already grabbed his hand. Now that she could see his fingers clearly, Zhang Ziluo's eyes suddenly turned red. Kui Hejin, it's you, right? Even just looking at his hand, she knew it was him. When she was in the village, she liked to look at his fingers, which had clear joints and were as long as jade. Not to mention that she often checked his pulse before and nursed back the meridians on his broken fingers. She could see it at a glance. The man in black cloak wanted to pull out his hand, not wanting her to recognize him. But he couldn't bear to take her hand away. What's more, she was really injured and bleeding. You got the wrong person. Even though Kui Hejin changed his voice, Zhang Ziluo was still sure it was him. That's right, you are Kui Hejin, my husband. Why don't you recognize me? By the way, I also received a letter from my mother. She said that you are not in the village. Why did you use your internal strength when you obviously couldn't use it? Are you feeling unwell? Have you been coughing recently? I'm the one who got you into trouble, right? I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Zhang Ziluo couldn't stand the thought of blaming herself for any changes in Kui Hejin's body that might have happened because of her. Her eyes were red and tears were about to fall out. Anyway, she just held his hand and wouldn't let go. Why don't you admit it to yourself? I'm injured and my arms hurt. Zhang Ziluo instinctively resorted to acting coquettishly. Just like she was in the last life. Kui Hejin finally sighed helplessly and said, it's not your fault. He just didn't know how to tell her. She didn't want him to know, so he pretended not to know. He just wanted to protect her secretly and protect her. As long as she is good, as long as she does what she wants to do, that's fine. He also supported her. As soon as I heard Kui Hejin's voice, I heard him admit it. Zhang Ziluo could no longer hold back her emotions and reached out to hug Kui Hejin. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Zhang Ziluo hugged Kui Hejin tightly. Kui Hejin saw the person in his arms crying sadly, and felt extremely distressed. He stretched out his arms and hugged her gently and said, "Don't say you're sorry." Zhang Ziluo shook his head, tears falling on his clothes. She couldn't control her tears at this moment. Because she was still thinking about her previous life, she felt that she had caused him trouble again. She didn't know what to do. "I don't want you to get hurt or feel uncomfortable. It's obvious that your physical condition cannot restore your internal strength. Did you use other methods?" Kui Hejin looked at her like a little girl, looked at the surrounding situation, put his arms around her waist, hugged her and left the place. Kui Hejin took Zhang Ziluo back to a house on the mountain in Zhangzhou City. "Here it is. The place where I lived recently was also the place where my master once stayed," Kui Hejin said, taking out a handkerchief to help Zhang Ziluo wipe her tears. Looking at her crying, her eyes were swollen, and Kui Hejin's heart felt painful. Anyway, Kui Hejin was by his side at this time. He also took off his cloak and confirmed his identity. Zhang Ziluo also controlled her emotions a little. "Your master?" "Well, I met an old man by chance when I was a child. From then on, he became my master and taught me martial arts secretly. It's just that master has a weird temperament. He never appears in front of others, and no one knows about his existence." Zhang Ziluo was stunned for a moment. "So your master taught you all this kung fu?" "Well, some were taught by my master, and some were taught by my grandfather. The skills taught by his master have never been shown in front of others before." Zhang Ziluo stretched out her hand and pulled Kui Hejin's sleeve. "What's wrong with your internal strength? Your body has obviously not fully recovered yet." Kui Hejin reached out and touched her hair gently, and said in a warm and loving voice, "I'll treat your wound first, and you can eat something first, okay?" Kui Hejin always has endless patience and a good temper when facing Zhang Ziluo. Zhang Ziluo wanted to feel Kui Hejin's pulse, but he wouldn't let her go at this time. End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 320. Zhang Ziluo used all the coquettish methods. She gently pulled Kui Hejin's sleeve, blinked her eyes and said innocently, "Can you let me take your pulse and check your health? I will be very worried about you." Zhang Ziluo looks like this, Kui Hejin really can't do anything to her. Seeing her like this, he felt so soft-hearted. Kui Hejin gently took her hand, pulled her into the house and said, "Obey, you are injured. If you don't deal with the injury, I will be anxious too." Kui Hejin's voice was neither urgent nor slow, but only he knew that when he looked at Ziluo's wound and saw her bleeding, his heart seemed to be bleeding with pain. Kui Hejin's voice is extremely gentle. Listening to his gentle coaxing voice, her heart seemed to be filled with ripples. Zhang Ziluo misses Kui Hejin after not seeing her for such a long time. For some reason, I couldn't help but want to get closer to him at this moment. Especially when he was brought back in his arms just now, she hugged him tightly all the way. At that moment, she felt at ease. There are several bamboo houses here, surrounded by fences. It is a place in the forest, relatively secluded, and outsiders probably don't know that there is such a residence here. This place is very clean and meticulous, and everything is placed very neatly. Although there isn't much. Kui Hejin took Zhang Ziluo's hand and asked her to sit down gently. "Be good, sit down first, and I'll take care of your injuries." Kui Hejin carefully rolled up Zhang Ziluo's sleeves. His eyes trembled when he saw the deep wounds on her arms. Kui Hejin carefully cleaned her wound and applied medicine to bandage it. "Hey, this medicine smells really good, refreshing, it looks like it should be very useful." It's better than the medicine she prepared. Because this medicine is made from extremely precious medicinal materials, it looks quite expensive. Kui Hejin explained, this is the medicine left by the master. Zhang Ziluo was stunned and said, does your master know medical skills? Well, master is actually better at using poison. Zhang Ziluo blinked her eyes and said curiously, then you didn't learn medical and poisonous skills from your master? Kui Hejin looked at Zhang Ziluo's curious look and laughed dumbly, want to know? Zhang Ziluo blinked her eyes hard. But I was afraid that Kui Hejin would not say anything. She realized now that in fact, she didn't seem to know much about Kui Hejin in this life. She doesn't know anything about him. I want to know. Kui Hejin had a smile in his eyes and said nothing. Zhang Ziluo looked at Kui Hejin pitifully and said, husband, I feel pain. Kui Hejin's face changed, and he said with a look of pity in his eyes, where does it hurt? Zhang Ziluo couldn't help but smile softly when she saw his nervous look. At this moment, she suddenly realized that her mood could not help but get better when he was by her side. It turned out that she really wanted to see him. She thinks she is doing him good, but in fact it may not be really good. So Zhang Ziluo is not so restrained in her true thoughts at the moment. It's time to be willful. She said softly, just tell me and I won't feel any pain. After Kui Hejin heard these words, he realized that she was just joking. He looked at him helplessly and lovingly and said, okay, I'll tell you. There's really nothing we can do about you. I can't help but want to pamper her. I can't help but want to pamper her no matter what she wants. With me, with us. Even if he knew that she was pretending on purpose, he would not let her go. What I learned from my master was about poisoning, not the medical skills to treat people. Zhang Ziluo became even more curious and said, normally, there is no separation between medicine and poison. So she was really curious about how Kui Hejin learned it? Kui Hejin said lightly, I probably didn't have that many ideas when I was a child. I learned a lot from my master, but I was not very interested in medical skills. Zhang Ziluo looked at him and said, isn't that very hard? Fortunately, it's not hard. Kui Hejin helped Zhang Ziluo bandage the wound on her arm while talking. Are you still injured? Zhang Ziluo pointed to the place on her heart with her hand, there seems to be a wound here too. Zhang Ziluo blinked her big eyes and looked at Kui Hejin. Husband, can you help me deal with it? Kui Hejin's ears turned red instantly. Zhang Ziluo looked at Kui Hejin's gorgeous appearance at this time, and felt a thrilling sense of brightness. She was so stunned that she was speechless. Husband, won't you help me? I'm in pain now and I can't move. Kui Hejin's eyes moved, and there seemed to be a trace of strange red. The wound is still bleeding. Kui Hejin's heart tightened, I'll handle it for you. Zhang Ziluo opened her hands as if letting Kui Hejin handle it. He needs his help with the clothes anyway. On the way Kui Hejin brought her back just now, she thought a lot. She thought she was doing good for Kui Hejin, but actually she was hurting him. Although he didn't say anything, she knew that his body must have used some special secret method to restore its internal strength. This method will definitely cause damage to his body. He did it all for her. When she thought about how much he had done for her in the previous life and ended up like this, her heart ached unbearably. She never wants to do that again. So she had to stick to him. Look at him carefully, prevent him from getting hurt, and take good care of his health. Even if she is stuck by her side, there are some things she can do. If she hadn't looked at Kui Hejin and she did something, he would have secretly protected her and done a lot for her. It would be better to stay by his side openly, at least she would know what his physical condition is like. At least she can know about him and try to protect him. This time she was wrong. She shouldn't have left without saying goodbye, and she shouldn't have told him nothing. She is blaming herself. You. Zhang Ziluo curled her lips deliberately and said, don't you want to care about me? Continued to look pitiful. Kui Hejin stretched out his slender fingers, trembling slightly, to help her untie her clothes. My face is hot. Zhang Ziluo felt the cool temperature of his fingers, and her body was numb and trembling. Kui Hejin almost closed his eyes and treated her wounds carefully. But when he saw the scars of her wounds, Kui Hejin only felt distressed and couldn't care about anything else. After treating her wound and bandaging it, Kui Hejin slowly breathed a sigh of relief. A slight sweat broke out on his forehead. After taking care of it, Kui Hejin said, "You lie down and rest for a while. I'll boil some water and make some food for you." Zhang Ziluo is not pretentious either. Actually, the pain in the wound is real. It's just that she shouldn't be pretentious, but she couldn't help but want to see his reaction. Kui Hejin told Zhang Ziluo a few words, and then went to the nearby kitchen to cook. Zhang Ziluo was lying on Kui Hejin's bed, and she seemed to be able to smell the light and elegant breath on the pillow. It was the breath of his body that made people feel at ease. "Perhaps you are really tired." Her body has been tense for such a long time, all the way from Donghe village to Zhangzhou, and she only slept lightly. Because she always slept with Kui Hejin in Donghe village. She was not used to it when she suddenly came out, so her sleep was not stable, and sometimes she would wake up in the middle of the night. In fact, only when facing Kui Hejin, her body could not help but relax. At this moment, she thought about him beside her, and she felt like she was home. So as soon as I relax, I fall asleep quickly. And slept very deeply.